Hey y'all, welcome back to Mum. I'm your host, Ellen Wong. Today I have the honor of offering the conversation I had recently with Lana Pribic, who is the host of Modern Psychedelics, a podcast that brought me to Enfold Institute. If you haven't heard that conversation, it's the one right before this episode with Steve Rio, the co-creator of Enfold Institute. Lana is a professional life coach, and she's also the co-founder of Kanna Wellness. And I had the honor of having this conversation with Lana about her experience with medicine and just the journey that she's been on with medicine since the very beginning, what brought her into psychedelic medicine work, brought her into creating modern psychedelics, and also brought her to the Enfold Institute, where she sat with 5-MeO-DMT about 6 months before I did. She's the reason why I was at Enfold. She's been very open and vulnerable about sharing her journey, but I don't think I had the chance to actually hear it in sort of like one setting. And so I highly recommend her podcast, Modern Psychedelics, if you haven't heard it or haven't checked it out. She goes through so many different experiences, and she also has just a wide swath of just incredible, incredible guests. So highly recommend her podcast. Without further ado, this is Lana. I'm going to just kind of let her speak to all of her incredible experiences, one of which is Iboga. And I have always been curious about this medicine. And I think after this particular conversation, I feel like that is in my future at some point. Once the nudge feels strong enough, I think I'm going to be answering that call. So as always, I welcome you to just find yourself a quiet space, feeling the earth underneath you and the weight of your body where you are sitting. Closing your eyes if that is available to you. And just taking one deep breath in together. Deep breath in through the nose. And a gentle exhale out with gratitude to the earth. It's my honor to introduce Lana Pribic. It's so awesome to finally sit here with you and to have this conversation, which I've been looking forward to for a really long time. And it's even before I heard that one, I think it was a reel, actually. It was an Instagram reel where you were sharing about your 5-MeO-DMT experience with Enfold last November, I think it was. And I just want to like set the stage for those who are listening. Um, I had this like really profound dream last year that was about me sitting with Bufo, the medicine, which I had heard calling me for a few years now, but never really answered the call. And then came back from that dream just kind of knowing that, okay, next year, 2024, is going to be the year where I sit with this medicine. And I didn't know what format. I didn't even know at that time what that medicine looked like, that it was a vapor that you breathed in. I just knew that I needed to be with this medicine. And then 3 days later, I see your post on Instagram talking about your experience at Enfold. And it was just almost kind of like this very clear download, like, okay, this is the place to investigate. I need to go over here. And there was something about, you had shared a clip of the video of you receiving the medicine during your first journey. And it just, I don't know how to even explain it. It just hit me like a ton of bricks, like, I need to go there. And then as soon as I hopped onto their website, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly the place. Like instant like safety and sort of a connection to the vibe, the frequency, whatever it is that Steve and Austin hold there, that emanates even through their website. And so I just want to start off this conversation by saying thank you, because we would not be having this
Oh.
conversation had I not seen that reel.
Mm.
And so this is the power of Instagram when used properly.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you went, and I'm happy that that reel resonated with you. I don't know if you flicked through the comments in there, but a lot of people were just not impressed that I was posting and sharing such a sacred moment and hearing your side of how you received that reel and what it brought out in you, this desire to sit with that medicine. Yeah, that just, yeah, it makes me happy that it was received in that way and that you went to Enfold and that you received the medicine and that, yeah, you are going through your process. So, such a pleasure. Thank you for receiving it.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Mm.
No, it was absolutely meant to be. And even as I'm speaking right now, I'm getting chills, because I think it's, yes, it's sacred, but also it's a way to share this medicine. And this medicine wants to be shared out and to call others towards it, and whoever it is that is meant to sit with it. So, or them, I should say. Um, I'd love to just start at, I'm like trying to decide, do we talk about five first? I kind of want to hear your whole journey with medicine that even brought you into psychedelic and entheogenic medicine, that kind of kicked you off on creating the podcast Modern Psychedelics. Why don't we start there? And then I know we're going to weave our way into
Yeah.
Iboga and Five and the journeys that you've been on with those
Yeah.
medicines as well.
Well, it ends with five. So yeah, well, there hasn't been any medicine since five. So we'll definitely end there. So that'll be a good segue. So yeah, I began altering my mind with substances when I was 20. I'm 33 now. And so yeah, it's been 13 years of exploring in that way. It wasn't until I was 28, 29 that I began to actually go to medicine for healing purposes. Starting with mushroom, like a friend sitting with me to do mushrooms. I was going through a breakup that just asked me to look at everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
know I know people who have been there know what I mean when I say it just brought up absolutely everything, an entire lifetime of repressed pain and suffering and sadness and unworthiness. That breakup just triggered all of that. And so I had a heart to heal. I had a mind to tame. And yeah, so I began my journey with mushrooms very slowly. I started to drink ayahuasca in a local community, so more like a neo-shamanic kind of setting rather than a direct lineage. I did that for 3, 4 years, and then came Iboga.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a, like, to me that's a huge leap, not in like, I'm not trying to compare the medicines or anything like that, but when I think about Iboga, that is a serious medicine. Like,
yeah.
you're not fucking around. Like, that is really beautiful that you went there.
I was really ready for it at the time though. Like I had over 30 ayahuasca sits at that time. So I had like really put in a lot of time in ceremony, understanding the healing process. I really understood a lot of the core lessons that we all need to learn at that point. Like you can't rush your healing. Once you're on the path, you're on the path, and the medicine's going to show you what it wants to show you, not what you want, and just to trust and surrender. I had gone to Iboga at like a really good place in terms of just knowing how to work with medicine and receive medicine. And I have my first ayahuasca shamanic practitioners to thank for really preparing me for that. There was months, there was like a year where I was in ceremony like every month. It was intense and a lot, but it was what I needed. And so the call to Iboga was really surprising because I always said I would never do Iboga. I always said I would never do 5-MeO as well. And then one day I was just like, I'm ready. And so I went
Wow.
to Costa Rica to Iboga Wellness Center, and that was an absolute line in the sand for me. It absolutely just changed the way that I relate to my mind, my thoughts, The Bwiti tradition, which is the tradition that holds the medicine of Iboga, is very beautiful and simple. And it's something that's really guided me and helped me with just everyday life. And so Iboga was a huge turning point for me in terms of relating to myself, accepting myself, loving myself. I just made an Instagram post before we hopped on around how I felt ugly and unattractive and not beautiful my entire life. And I asked Iboga, like, how do I become more beautiful? Because that's the consciousness I was in then, right? Like, what do I
Yeah.
need to do to be more attractive? And Iboga is just such a dear medicine for me because it's so clear and direct. And it was just like, smile more. That's it. Smile more.
Can I ask, how did you experience the wisdom kind of coming through with
Yeah.
Iboga?
Yeah, so Iboga's like very traditional in terms of how ceremony is supposed to go. There's like very much like a specific way to do it. And so one of the elements of an Iboga ceremony is they give you something called pygmy powder. It's a powder made by the pygmy people in West Africa. They're like some of the only remaining forest people left. And it's like 50 herbs. It's this like bright red, beautiful powder. And they put it on your forehead here on the third eye. And it's meant to open up your third eye, your intuition, and connect you. And so I connected. I really got the whole visionary journey, went to the moon,
Wow.
it was very visionary and intense. And then at one point, the Iboga provider came up and you write a list of questions that you want to ask the medicine before. And he came and did some work with the third eye with me and started reading out the questions. And so he reads the questions out, you repeat them, and then if you are able to connect to your intuition, the answers just come. They just for me, they just dropped in. It was like just a simple answer, just smile. Yeah.
That is profound.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
so
just one of
interesting.
the things I got out of it. I mean, I got so much out of Iboga. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, because I know nothing about Iboga. And I'll be honest, like there's almost this perception in me that that's like even more than five for some reason. Like that is like the medicine that is so here that I may never get to. It's not
Yeah.
calling me at the moment, and it may never call me, but I'm just so fascinated. What did that whole ceremony look like? What did the journey feel like for you?
Yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah, it's been 2 years. And since then, I haven't had many psychedelic experiences. Like that was really the one where it was like integration, slow things down. You don't need to be in a ceremony every month. Like, chill out, calm down. Um, Yeah, for me, the ceremony, so Iboga Wellness Center is like very beautiful. It's immersed in nature. It's like on this just stunning property with like open vistas of, you know, rural Costa Rican views. And so the nature was such an important aspect for me. Um, I gave you the example of like one thing that Iboga helped me with was to feel more beautiful. Another thing was to connect me to nature and my true nature. So Iboga is very
Mm,
connected to the earth and earth wisdom. And so in the Bwiti tradition, there's no difference between you and nature. Like you are nature, you come from nature. Nature has all of the answers. If you have questions, go to nature for answers. And so Iboga is really connected to that. And so spending a week on that property with two
mhm.
ceremonies, that the whole process lasts almost 48 hours. Like by the time you sit in
Wow.
ceremony to when you wake up and feel like you're back, it's going to be about 48 hours. And so,
Wow.
yeah. And it's not as crazy as it sounds. Like what it's like 5-MeO. You think it's gonna be so crazy, and then you're like, okay, 5-MeO is pretty crazy. But like to me, 5-MeO is above Iboga in terms of intensity, personally.
Interesting. Mhm.
But yeah, so it was really connected to nature and this intuition, this inner knowing. It's all about this human life and what it means to be a human on earth.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it was really about connecting to the wisdom inside of me and connecting to the little girl inside of me who I abandoned. I actually got to, yeah, I was really fortunate, and I want to be just considerate in sharing my story because not everyone's experience is like this. Not everyone does the soul travel and has the visions and gets to meet their soul. Some people
Mm.
do, some people
Mhm.
don't. I was very lucky in that it did happen to me, and
Mhm.
I thought that it wouldn't. I really did. I was like, this stuff never happens to me. And so, one of the things that they take you on is this soul journey to the moon, and they take you to your childhood bedroom and your childhood home, and you're kind of looking for your soul, right? You're kind of looking for this part of you that has been abandoned. And I got to meet her and journey with her, and she came with me to our adventures to the moon. And I got to just really reconnect with the part of myself that I abandoned.
Mm.
And for me, Iboga was a coming home to truth, like
Mm.
capital T truth, and helping me really separate and understand truth from not truth.
Mm.
So it's been incredibly impactful, just for so many different areas of my life and gave me so much to work with, honestly. Yeah.
It sounds like there was a lot of like natural inner child work that came through that experience.
Yeah.
Um, when when you were working with essentially like little Lana, were you seeing her? Was she literally kind of with you during the whole
Yeah.
journey?
There was a point where I saw a baby who I thought was myself, and I saw the baby on the bed, and I told Levi, I see the baby, and he said, okay, like pick her up and cradle her and just love
Mm.
her. And so there was that. When I met my soul, though, she was my age. Like she
Wow.
looked like me. And so she was really like she just wanted to have fun, actually. Like, even in the soul journey to the moon and back, like, she showed up like in these crazy big white space boots, like these white
Wow.
space boots and like a jetpack. And she had like little braids. And I was at a music festival last summer, and I was like, I literally look like my soul.
Oh my
I
God,
was wearing
that's
this like
so
fur vest
cool.
and white combat boots, and it was totally subconscious. And so my soul, like, she didn't want to take anything seriously. She actually was just flying around space, and she was just flying around, and she actually kept wanting to come back to Earth, and I kept having to leave space to come back to Earth to get her and be like, come on, like we have to go do the serious work and like connect with our ancestors and like heal the family and all of this stuff. And she was just like, nope, I just want to fly around and boop, boop, boop.
She was a little raver. I love this so
Yeah.
you have no idea how much this is like resonating with me as like a somebody who went into the rave. I feel that that is my soul as well. And so the fact that she
Yeah.
came out like and presented herself like that is just oh, it's so
Yeah.
perfect. It's so
Well, I
beautiful.
think that's why the rave space, I'm like very immersed in the rave space still. I go to festivals and, do the drugs and stuff.
I love it.
I find the rave space is such an amazing space to like play with that inner child and express that and be with that. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
So the I'm curious what you were feeling this whole time that you were both with your little self as well as your soul self as well.
Mm. Yeah, during the journey, it felt intense
Mhm.
and like everything was just moving really, really fast. I didn't have a lot of time to feel in the
Mhm.
ceremony.
Mhm.
The morning after the ceremony, we were all able to go to our rooms and just rest. And then that's kind of when the fog started to clear for me and the intensity started to come down. And I actually was able to connect very directly to what I called the voice of truth
Mhm.
or intuition.
Mhm.
But I just sat there on my bed for I don't even know how long because time is not a concept that makes sense when you're in the medicine of iboga. Like it could have been 15 minutes, it could have been 3 hours. I have no idea.
Wow.
But I was just sitting there and these insights were just coming through and landing and coming through and landing. And I was just sitting on the bed, like journaling it. And I felt cleansed. I felt clear. I felt like I could, relieved that I could finally see these
Mm.
things. Like
Mm-hmm.
things were really starting to like come together and make sense for me. Iboga lifted the confusion. Like anything I was confused about, I was no longer confused about. I no longer am a confused person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Iboga has this way of really just like stripping away anything and everything that isn't truth and just helping you reorient and redirect with what you know to be true. So, for example, I was like a spiritual mutt before Iboga. It was like very in like the new age, ascension, 5D, astrology, human design, like all that stuff. And now I don't necessarily I don't like shit on that stuff. I don't think it's bullshit. I don't speak poorly of it. But I can see in hindsight that all of it together was confusing me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that all of it together was like, yeah, making me this like spiritual mutt, like just trying to like, what's the answer? Where's the answer? What's the truth? Like, what's out there? What do I need to know? And
Yeah.
so Iboga really just brought everything down. It just calmed everything down. And so there was a lot of relief in that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like a sigh of relief. Yeah, it was like, wow, finally I can see clearly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this point because I think so many of us who are on this healing path and I think it coincides with like spiritual seeking, trying to find truth or find answers, find some system that explains it all and kind of lays it all out. Like this is why you are the way you are and all these things. And there's almost a sense of mm, like I want to say pseudo comfort in that.
Mhm.
It's like it's really your ego just trying to, I think, survive,
Yeah.
right?
Like
And
latch
so,
on to something, right?
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
so much of the spiritual path is like being comfortable with the unknown and knowing that ultimately that was the thing. Yeah. Yeah. That was the thing that I got from Iboga. It was like, there are things in this life that I will never know and
hmm,
that are not possible to know. For example, what happens after death. That
yeah,
is something that no one will ever know. No one will ever be able to confirm for sure what happens after death. So that's like the most
100%.
extreme example.
Yeah.
And so what Iboga teaches is that so Bwiti is the study of life, right? Bwiti is the study of life on earth. And so it's a self-study and you are supposed to confirm everything for yourself through your senses. So
Mm,
through your sight, your hearing, tasting, smelling. For example, if you're sitting at a fire, you can't deny that a fire is there. You can hear it, you can see it, you can smell it, you can even taste it,
mm,
right? There's no doubt that a fire is there. So in Bwiti, you're meant to verify truth through at least three of your senses. If you can't verify something
interesting.
through at least three of your senses, it's not truth. And so thinking is not a sense.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
so the thoughts that we have, the ideas that we have are not truth,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And when it comes to spirituality, there are these big questions about what happens after death. What is this? Who are we? What's happening here that, according to the Bwiti, right, we could never know?
mm.
And it's really interesting when you kind of compare and contrast that with the medicine of 5-MeO. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm like getting full chill. This is such a like super interesting conversation because, and I think we're having it right now because of just, I think collectively what we're moving through, Um, and what I'm hearing you say, especially with Iboga and your experience there, is that it sort of cuts through the noise and allows all of the kind of like dross and extra mm, frills of stuff to just
Yeah.
kind of fall away, where all it's like it not what's the word? It like I can't even think of the word right now. It's not diluting. It con
Condenses?
filters, yeah, filters out
Yes.
everything down into what
100%.
is
Yeah.
just essential.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really just like direct medicine. Like
Yeah.
Iboga and 5-MeO are the most direct out of all that I've worked with, in different ways. But yeah, it'll just go right. They call it Iboga, the root of all healing, is a
Mhm.
excellent book if you want to learn more about Iboga. But the actual medicine is the root bark of a shrub. So you know how often like the physical attributes of a medicine coincide with how the medicine works. So, for example, mushrooms and the mycelial network and,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
connectivity, and it can be really kind of like twisty and windy and all
Totally.
that. So, iboga's the root bark. So, you actually harvest the tree, you pull the tree out
Oh,
with the
wow.
roots and everything, the root system, and you don't use the stuff above the earth. You use the stuff under the earth. And
Mm.
so it's said that iboga is root medicine, as in it's a root, but it also gets to the root, the truth, the
Yeah.
pure, simple essence of what it means to be human. And it's actually really simple. Yeah. Yeah, this life is actually a lot simpler than we make it out to be, is what I've learned from that medicine.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long was the time span between your Iboga experience and finding five?
Well, finding five, I had known about 5-MeO for years. I interviewed Steve Rio, like he was
That's
episode 8 of Modern Psychedelics. And like I always said, if I ever do it, it would be with him. Um, so I did in between 5-MeO and Iboga, it was a year, a full year. Mm, yeah, a full year.
right. Mm.
November 2022 and November 2023.
Wow.
Like to the day, actually. My Iboga ceremony and my 5-MeO ceremony were both on November 17th.
That's crazy.
I know. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. There's something very profound about that
Yeah. It
synchronicity. Yeah.
it really felt like, yeah, a bookmarks for sure. In between those, I did a Shipibo ayahuasca ceremony retreat, which was absolutely gorgeous, stunning, just beautiful, direct lineage. They've been carrying the medicine for like 1,000 years. I'm so fortunate to have these experiences. Um, and that was a lot of that was about my gut health and listening to my intuition when it comes to my body, and that's something that I'm continuing to integrate. um, and then 5-MeO was
Actually, before you
I
go to five,
yeah.
I'm so curious, how was your ayahuasca experience after Iboga? Did that shift?
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and I know you probably experience the medicine differently through the
Yeah.
Shipibo tradition as well, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Shipibo tradition. Have you had a Shipibo
I
experience?
have
Yeah,
not. Yeah.
it's gorgeous. Yeah, I think by that point, I had worked through so much of my content. It was really about like these like fine tuning details, and a lot of that journey for me was just, gosh, experiencing the sheer beauty of Earth. Like,
Wow.
honestly, I
Yeah.
actually wrote a poem, like a devotional poem to the earth during that retreat, which is something that I never do, but it just like poured out of me.
Mm,
It's said that Iboga makes other medicines much more effective.
interesting.
Yeah,
Based on what
yeah,
you're saying, I can see that. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think it did. Yeah. I think because of Iboga, it set me up for 5-MeO to receive what I did in a big way. Yeah, that was really unexpected for me. Yeah.
Hmm. So tell us a little bit about the five experience that you had.
Yeah. Gosh, I can't believe it's been a year. It was everything. Yeah. It was so powerful for me and
Mm.
so profound that even a year later, I'm still like really in the weeds of integration. I thought integration like wrapped up for me about 8 months in.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh-uh.
LOL, it did not. Yeah, it didn't. It was just like it was a lull. Um, yeah, there's so much to integrate from that experience, as you know. Um, it was everything. It was so beautiful. It was terrifying and horrifying and beautiful and scary and blissful and it was everything all at once.
Mm.
It opened up my heart so much. It shielded and protected my heart so much. Like I know now, no matter what happens, like my heart is protected and my heart is good, and
Mm.
that my heart is my compass and my heart is my anchor, and like that is like truly all I need in this life is this open heart that I can always go back to and live from.
Mm.
um and that was just from the sheer feeling of absolute universal cosmic love flooding me as I came back from my experience. And another thing I've been integrating is when I came out of my first, so I went unconscious for 3 out of 4 doses. Like I'm incredibly sensitive to 5-MeO,
Mhm.
and the first time I came out of one of those, like the first time I came out of the medicine after being unconscious, I just said, I was laughing. I came out laughing. And I said, just receive, just receive. That's it.
I'm laughing because I think my word was allow. And it was just like, just allow, just allow. It was literally repeating on
It's like, where
repeat.
does it come from? You're not conscious for it to, it just, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
I think,
Wow.
yeah, with both of our experiences, like there's really something about 5-MeO that is about syncing with the natural energy of love and the flow of love. That's,
Mhm.
I don't know if you like agree with that, but that's really what I've
Mhm.
been working through is like, if I can just stay in the flow of love, if I can just stay in my heart, if I can just allow my heart to continue to flow and to circulate and to live from that place, like that's it. Like that's
Yeah.
all you have to do. That's literally all you have to do.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall into place.
It sounds so simple, right? Like
Yeah.
I have been finding myself talking about this a lot this year, and I really believe it's because of the five integration that I'm going through. Of it's I have these conversations about like chi, essentially energy and
Yeah.
just the the free flow, like being in the flow of energy, which is I think is kind of what you're saying, like just allowing that energy to move through you and to move your body, to move your vessel and not try so hard to
Yeah.
make it move a certain way, because I think the more we try, that's where those blocks start to come in. And
Hmm.
not only are you blocking yourself from sharing love or giving love, but you're also blocking it from being received back.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think we get into trouble, trying
Yeah.
to control everything. So the just
Totally.
receive, just receive, that
Yeah.
part of it's so difficult for so many of
Yeah.
us.
Well, a lot of us have the giving part down, right? A
Yeah.
lot of us are
Yeah.
chronic overgivers, and we do that out of
Recovering
defense and
people pleaser.
protection.
Yeah.
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 And we learn that that's what makes us worthy, that's what gives us love. We don't want to step on people's toes, we don't want to upset people. It's easier to just avoid confrontation. Like we all have these reasons that we have collected throughout our life that lead the majority of people in the world to walk around overgiving and
Mhm.
not open to receiving. But what you were just talking about, right? Like that chi, that life force energy, it's always in flow, it's always in motion. So giving is only one half of it, right?
Yeah.
Wherever there's giving, there's always receiving, right? When I give you a gift, like that I chose out for you and I'm so excited to give you. When I give you that gift, I also receive your joy back, your
Mm.
gratitude back, right? There's always a giving and receiving. And so, you said it's so simple, right? Oh yeah, just allow it, just receive. It's so simple. It's simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy
You,
to do because we have to get out of our own way from allowing, from receiving, right? There's so many things that we do to block ourselves off from just allowing that natural flow of life,
mm,
whatever you want to call it, love, God, the highest consciousness you can have, chi, life force, like it's everywhere, it's all around us. That's why spirituality, schools of spirituality and religions all talk about it, right?
mm, mhm, mhm.
And so it's interesting that 5-MeO kind of confirmed that for me in a way. Like it was like, oh, this shit is real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So you were saying that you went unconscious for 3 out of the 4 journeys.
Yeah.
Do you remember, do you just remember kind of like returning and what you were experiencing
Yeah.
returning?
Yeah, I covered like the whole thing on my podcast if people are interested. Like I went in, it's like an hour long episode where I go into all the details, but there were moments that I remember. For example, I remember being on my back and my chest up and screaming in terror, but I had no control over it, like none.
Wow.
It was just, I was just witnessing it.
Yeah.
Um, I remember coming out and just being like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a lot that I don't remember though. Like, as you know, Steve and Austin take videos and photos. I don't know if you received yours or if you went down that route, but
I
there are so
didn't.
many. You didn't
Mhm,
take yours,
mm-mm,
yeah.
mm.
There's so many that I'm like, oh, I did that. Okay. At one point, I was like in child's pose and then like had my butt in the air and was like sifting through the mattress like a little girl, like a
Wow.
little child, and just like being a little worm. Yeah, it's a really interesting medicine in terms of the expression and the release. Yeah.
I think in my journeys, I just felt that I only ended up doing 2. And it's interesting because the second journey back, it's like that voice. It was such a clear voice saying, you're complete, you're complete,
Yeah.
you're complete. And I think the human in me is just like, no, but I want to get my money's worth. Like, I need to
Right.
get 2 more in, at least 1 more in,
Yeah.
And so there was almost a moment of like, this other side of me going, "No, are you sure you want to, like like tap out, it's like you've only done 2." And it was so resoundingly clear, like you're complete, that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to listen to this. And
Yeah.
so, and even Steve and Austin were just like, are you sure? I think there's still something else here to explore. I'm like, no, I think I'm good. I don't know why I say that, but I think I'm really good.
Yeah.
And then hearing everybody else's experience afterwards, I'm like, man, did I not go all the way? Um, Now, as I'm even sharing it with you, because I've been sitting with this too, like I'm realizing there's always this profound perfection in what needs to happen or what happens.
Hmm.
And I think in my own personal journey, the next day when we went into like the sauna and then also the cold plunge, I think I needed to kind of explore the somatic release through those
Yeah.
actions. In your experiences of coming back and experiencing, it sounds like there's an experience of like somatic release that was happening that perhaps you were even unaware of until you were
Oh,
starting to like
major.
really
Yeah.
return. Yeah.
Majorly. Majorly. Yeah. Oh, I was like, if you were to look at the videos, like what I posted on Instagram was such a small, toned down snippet of what happened. I mean, yeah, I was having like full on, like, it looked like seizures. Yeah. Like complete energetic releases. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think for me, that was like, just the trauma that I experienced as a child being in a war zone. Like I was born
Mm-hmm.
into former Yugoslavia. 6 months later, the war broke out. And so my family was there until I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And so I think the body just had, I don't think, I intuit that
Mm-hmm.
the body really stored up so much of the stress that I experienced as a little girl of not having a normal childhood,
Yeah.
not having my parents necessarily there when I needed them to do the things that I needed them to do. And the sheer terror of like hearing sirens and bombs and guns, and I'm sure there was all types of noises. And so I think that my shaking and screaming and
Hmm.
all of that release was releasing that finally in a way that I don't think anything would have been able to do in a 2 hour ceremony, in a 2 hour period of time.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I was always so sensitive to lights and noises
Hmm.
and like car traffic. I would have panic attacks several times a day. My heart would start beating. I would go into full fight or flight mode. Um, and that has like significantly decreased after
Wow.
5-MeO. And that was my main intention actually going into 5-MeO. It was like, holy fuck, why am I so sensitive? I can't
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And it was so honestly miraculous. I hate using that word. I just mean miraculous in terms of something that I never thought could happen happened. I am now able to sit in a downtown condo with traffic passing by and I don't have a reaction to it. Whereas before I would be like, I can't fucking be here. I can't do this. Like it would be too triggering to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's incredible, and I keep on using the word profound because I think that's like the only word I feel
It
like
is,
can
yeah.
describe this, which is really not describing it. But yeah, there is something so powerful. Even, I think there was people in my cohort that experience that terror part. And what I'm hearing from you is that even in experiencing the fear that came through your body, it wasn't connected to necessarily a memory or anything like that. It was just somatic. It was like a somatic feeling of your body seizing up with
Yeah.
that panic and anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing that 5-MeO did that no other medicines were able to do. Right.
Hmm.
Iboga
Hmm.
was like, it worked on the mind and the soul. It
Hmm.
really did. It like fixed up my mind, it fixed up my soul. Five was just like it fixed up my energy and my nervous system. I think of it as like energy medicine, light medicine. It works far beyond human comprehension. It works far beyond like the human realm, possibly. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really incredible the the importance of yeah somatics and nervous system. It's something that as a coach practitioner and aspiring facilitator I really want to get some education around and learn more about. This nervous system piece was such a missing piece for me. I'm curious, did you get like a do you feel like I think you did because you've been talking about resting more and like easing
Hmm.
into that, but do you feel like your nervous system has shifted and changed since 5-MeO?
It has.
Yeah.
I just remember after having the cold plunge experience the next day and literally having what felt like a seizure for about 20 minutes or something, and just the full shaking out of my body, like, and the tremors and everything. I had never felt as relaxed and calm. It was like a level of peace in my body that I don't think I have ever felt before or since. It was, when every teeny tiny little bit of whatever that is, I don't know if it's cortisol or what, is just completely obliterated from the body. I just remember feeling
Wow.
like, oh wow, there's like, I'm not feeling the crunch in my joints. I'm not feeling anything that's like stiff. It was the whole system was just perfectly relaxed. And it's not that I haven't felt fear since or anxiety since. I think it's almost like it brought in a new consciousness around when my body goes into those states
Mhm.
of fight or flight, or, I'm now much more aware of like, oh, this is what's happening, versus before where I would just kind of, it's almost like you get kind of possessed by that fear, and then your body just sort of like follows suit to do anything it
Yeah.
possibly can to survive, right? Now it's more of like, okay, this is what my experience is. There's like it's like that window of tolerance has sort of opened
Yeah.
up, and I don't feel it quite as acutely, or I can do something about it. I can address it in a way where, this year found me going and finding myself a personal trainer and doing strength training as I've been, I'm experiencing the beginnings of like perimenopause, and just my whole body is shifting. Everything about my body is shifting right now. And I think, had I not had that five experience, I think I'd be freaking out a lot more at this moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
instead, I'm just like, okay, so there's some things that you need to like kind of focus on, just to bring a little bit more, just kind of bringing our body back into homeostasis a little
Yeah.
bit. And strength training has been part of it. But it's like things like that where I'm like, okay, I can calmly put a sort of a plan together to like address certain things that
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, versus that fight or flight sort of freak out
Hmm.
state that I think I used to kind of go into, or start to like ruminate and think of strategies to,
Yeah.
to make this not happen anymore.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're experiencing as well?
Yeah. That's interesting because I think that hits on like two benefits or two after effects of 5-MeO that are really common is nervous system full reset. Like it sounds like you got like the full reset button on your
Yeah,
nervous system
totally.
after that cold plunge.
Yeah.
And then the increased consciousness, which to me I find kind of annoying sometimes because honestly, it's like nothing can get by me anymore. Like I was
Yeah.
talking to Steve Rio the other week, and I was expressing to him, I'm like, it's almost like I'm too aware. And he's like, yeah, I get it. Like sometimes you just want to like sit on the couch and eat like a bag of marshmallows. And I'm like, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like,
That's gone. That's
and it's
totally
just like
gone.
you can't. And I had this conversation on my podcast with Jessie from Enfold.
Yeah.
And she was talking about like how she would binge eat and like it would be compulsive. And I was like, well, how do you know it's compulsive? And she's like, well, I would keep eating it even though I was like not wanting to. And it's like after 5-MeO, when you engage in those habits, or at least when I engage in these like, eating too much of the ice cream, which I still do, but
Mhm. Mhm.
way less often. Like
Yeah.
I would say it's gone down by like 70%. Like I'm a recovering sugar addict. Um, it's
That
like,
Can I just
yeah.
say that Enfold just really helped with that in general, like caffeine and sugar for me.
Oh
I'm
my God,
so
yeah.
much more aware now because of the regimen that they put us on.
And I'm so much more sensitive to it. Like I actually just can't have things that are so sweet. I haven't had caffeine. I mean, I'll have a matcha latte once in a while because I love a matcha latte. But yeah, it's been a year and just like it's like you get the nervous system reset. And then I also quit nicotine vaping, like literally there, I threw it out that day.
Wow.
So just like eliminated so much input. And so, okay, so the consciousness thing, right? It increases your consciousness. You're always aware. You have like the seat of consciousness. It sounds like you have that too, where you can see everything. Like I feel like I'm always watching myself. And sometimes I'm like, can you just stop? Can you just stop for a second? Like, can I just be like unaware and unconscious for a little bit? Which for me is why I find it really important to like I love to go out dancing and I used to do a lot more drugs. They could, when it's at a rave, it's drugs, not
Yeah, yeah.
medicine. Um,
Totally. Totally.
I used to do way more of that stuff before 5-MeO. Now I don't even do ketamine anymore. I was like pretty into the ketamine. It's just eliminated so much stimulation.
Mm,
So yeah,
mhm.
there's so much going on, and I'm sure people listening who haven't had 5-MeO are like, okay, yeah, it makes sense why there's so much to integrate because with that full nervous system reset plus that just boom consciousness expansion,
Yeah.
like those two things together are really powerful in creating new habits, creating a new lifestyle for
Mhm.
yourself, living in a different way, taking care of your body. Like I can't go a week without stretching anymore. I can't.
Wow.
I
That's
cannot.
really interesting. Yeah, your
Yeah.
body's just like craving it, huh?
I just notice it too much. Yeah. It's like it's
Hmm.
just there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing year of integration, lifestyle changes, and just honoring my energy. Like another thing is like so without caffeine
Hmm.
and so much stimulation, I'm just tired and I just let myself be tired.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna stop working. Like
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. So yeah, it's been a lot of changes. Yeah.
That, thank you for naming that because that's something new that I'm noticing in myself too, where, and this is, I think, a habit that had been built up since sort of like my more like capitalistic years, of like working and grinding and hustling in the advertising agency kind of life. I I like force my body usually to stay up at least until midnight. For some reason, midnight is the cutoff point where I'm like, I need to stay up until midnight. And again, this is like a lie I've been telling myself for me to maximize my day, even though
Mm,
the last 2 or 3 hours is literally just like puttering around or watching TV or,
yeah.
even watching TV. I'm like, well, I'm relaxing, but
Yeah.
sleep is the ultimate relaxing thing. So, but for some reason, there was this like weird mental block against it. Whereas now, I find my body just naturally wanting to kind of start to rest at like 9:30 or 10, which is unheard of for me. For me, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I usually try to push it. But if that happens, I'm now listening in a way where I'm like, okay, it's time to wrap it up and
Yeah.
I'm going to head off to bed, do my night
You're
routine. And
allowing.
I'm
You're
allowing.
allowing. You're
Yeah,
allowing it to be as it is, right? Instead
totally.
of like fighting against it and pushing against it. It's like I'm tired. Also, your screen light just got super crazy as we've been talking about 5-MeO. I'm
Oh,
like, what's
wow.
going on?
I think the
It
sun
looks like
is like coming.
5-MeO.
It totally. I mean, in fact, literally, when I was in that cold plunge, the very end of that 5 minute stay that I was in there, my eyes were obviously shut, but I started to see this like white light, and I started to float in that water, and it was just like almost like
Wow.
I like transcended again. Like I sort of like
From the
died
cold
and
plunge?
from the cold plunge. That's
Yeah,
why I feel
this
like
is, yeah.
for some reason the medicine there was some, I don't know if it's the medicine. I have no idea where this thing was coming through or what was telling me to like stop at 2, because I think there was more work to be done actually
Yeah.
in the cold plunge. And so I was like, okay. But yeah, that there was another, like literally going into the white light, because I ended up, again, I hate cold plunges. This is not my thing, which is why I asked my cohort, like, can I please go first just to get it over with? And like at 2 minutes, there was a little voice inside of me that was like, okay, you need to just stay and stay and stay. And so I ended up staying the full 5 minutes. And I think that's what really allowed me to
Wow.
experience the shaking
Yeah.
of the entire, the
Have you
release.
had reactive, because that sounds like a little a big reactivation of the medicine, because you had essentially a 5-MeO experience. 5-MeO leaves the
Exactly.
body within like 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
Have you had other reactivations since then?
I had one when I was walking through a Target. That was
Oh
like
God.
shortly
Jeez.
after I had shortly after I had come back, maybe within 2 weeks or something like that. And I just remember walking through this Target and suddenly almost kind of like my vision shifted a little bit. And I was just looking at these aisles of product and feeling very surreal. Like, this is not real. Where am I? This feels very, very odd, like to be in this very artificial kind of place.
Yeah.
It was like an,
Derealization. Yeah.
yeah, it was very much that
Yeah.
experience. And then I
Yeah.
got into my car and I think I threw on Anima or something like that, the DJ, and I was listening to a track. And then as I was like driving home, the buildup in this, EDM track was, it just brought this huge release of just joy and gratitude. And I just started crying and
Wow.
like just feeling that, yeah, just the expansiveness,
Hmm.
it was that kind of like reactivation experience where it's been through music a lot, and
Hmm.
I remember Steve playing it was a Juliana Barwick song during my first journey, um, in light, I think it was the song. Every time I hear that song now, there is something that just explodes open within me and it
Yeah.
reactivates that experience within me. How about you? I'm so
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a few. Yeah. I was just curious because, yeah, for people listening, like 5-MeO is not to be messed around with. It can be intense, like even after.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've had a few. One was while I was on LSD, and then I smoked a little bit of cannabis, and cannabis can like really reactivate it. And I like fully thought I was about to die. Like, thankfully, my friend who is a 5-MeO facilitator was
Oh,
there.
wow.
um oh, it was like my birthday party. Like, I had a friend, like he was DJing and playing like really filthy dirty bass music, and then all of a sudden I felt we were talking about 5-MeO, and I was like, something's happening. And then I just like felt like I was about to leave and never come back. And I was like holding
Wow.
on for dear life. I was like, I'm never coming back. And Carolina was just like there with me. And I was like, I was terrified. And I was like, the music needs to stop. And like I had to like get everyone to stop the music. And it was wild. It was wild.
Wow.
And then I had one at like a concert venue. I experienced a moment of non-duality in a really not harm reduction informed space, and that was pretty crazy as well. And then I've had a few other ones. Yeah, I would say that the 5-MeO medicine is something that I'm very sensitive to. I've had like a few sips of it here and there.
Hmm.
Um, because I've been wanting to. I'm so in love with it. I love it. I love it so much, and I want to really develop a relationship with it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
my friend lent me her like vape pen,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
like, people listening at home, don't do this. Um, because I wanted to try like a meditation practice with it, and I did it
Yeah.
one day, like smallest amount, and Sam Harris's voice just started to like melt away, and I was like, okay, never doing that again. So yeah, for me, it's like I've had like 10 5-MeO experiences, only doing it like 5 times.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, I'm really sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
same way. I remember coming back down from that very first handshake dose and laughing. I think I was laughing at this point. I'm like, if that's the handshake dose,
Yeah,
I think I'm tapping like that's as much as I need,
yeah.
to
You're like, how can it be crazier than that?
oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was very fascinating the way,
Yeah.
yeah, how
It's
intense it
it's
is.
crazy that some people just go into 5-MeO not knowing anything about it. That's what makes me so passionate about this medicine and talking about it, and um, sharing education around it, because I think that it's like very misunderstood. The
Hmm.
intensity of it is underplayed, and
Hmm.
it's honestly just served very casually. Like, I really like at Enfold how they have the spiritual framing around it. They're very serious about it, like very serious. And I'm like, it's a medicine that like needs to be serious. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thank you for saying that because the clients that have expressed interest in it that I get to work with, I've been telling them about Enfold, like just I've not stopped talking about Enfold. I'm like, please find yourself a facilitator. Do not
Yeah.
do this on your own. Like
Oh
this
God,
is,
no.
you know,
No.
I was also just laughing
Yeah.
because I think prior to this, so I haven't walked with Aya. There was a moment where I heard her calling, and this is before I started my relationship with the mushroom. And as soon as I started to work with the mushroom more deeply and more consistently, her voice started to just like recede in the background. So I haven't actually
Mm.
gone through and experienced her. And I'm not saying it'll never happen, but right now it feels kind of like, okay, I'm deepening my
Yeah.
relationship with the mushroom in a really big way. And after my 5 experience, I was kind of like half joking but very serious. I was like, I feel like I could take the MCAT on mushrooms now. Like what in comparison to 5, like 5 is on a whole other realm
Yeah.
of, you know, talk about spiritual death. Like, I really feel like, I know that there's been studies done comparing a five experience with like an NDE, like a near death experience.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of similarities, not all, but like there's a lot
Hmm.
of similarities there. Um, but to actually experience yourself as energy without a body, I think
Yeah.
that was the way I probably would best describe my experience. It literally felt like um, that non-dual state is actually, I had only been told, or it had only been described to me as really blissful. Like you just feel this bliss, this like just transcendent sort of bliss and total utter peace, which it was. But there's another side to that that I kind of want to name, because it can be expressed as bliss, like there's like everything here, all the things here, but it also kind of feels like there's nothingness here too,
Hmm.
and emptiness. And I was kind of, in my recent podcast with Enfold, I was telling them like, there was a moment as I was coming back after my second journey where I didn't really know if I preferred that. I
Hmm.
think,
Yeah.
I was just like, I think I now understand, if my soul has been in a body, like has been to earth several times, many, many times, I kind of understand now why, for whatever reason, my soul chooses to be in this body. There's just something that feels so visceral that you cannot replace, of that feeling of heartbreak and that sort of
Hmm.
cathartic release of feeling love in such a, it's like so real the way you feel it through a body, versus when you're in that non-dual state, the everythingness and nothingness can be really, it can feel alarming. It can
Yeah.
feel sort of like, what is happening, what is this,
Yeah.
and almost nihilistic in some ways too.
Yeah, it's so like neutral and nothing and everything at the same time, which is in such stark contrast to like the duality we have here and like the highs and lows that
Yeah,
come with that,
yeah,
right? It's like, yeah, I wonder if it's only perceived that way because we have this experience to contrast it with, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
totally, yeah.
yeah.
um i'm I'm just like sitting in just the frequency of everything that you just shared, and I'm curious where you see yourself at this point in your journey, um, not just with medicine, but just life in general. Like, how do you see your life shifting, and what does how's your vision for your life kind of changed after this five experience,
Mm.
and really after Iboga, and just this beautiful journey that you've had with medicine so far?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. I have a little post-it note on my desk right here that says, things are falling into place. Stay grounded and humble.
Ooh, I love it.
It literally feels right now that that's what's happening. It's like everything is just falling into place, which is so wild because, at Enfold during the integration, how they draw these cards,
Mm.
and they pick cards for you and you can pick your cards. So they're very like beautiful visual cards, and you just select something that feels like your journey. And so the card that Steve selected for me was these like domino pieces, right? These domino pieces. And there's this little girl, and she's trying to like force the domino to start falling. Like she's trying to like move one of them so that the rest of them fall. But what she doesn't see is that on the other end of the line of the dominoes, things are already falling.
Oh,
They're already
wow.
falling. And so it was just such a crazy realization for me to put that together with where I feel like I am right now. I'm very, gosh, professionally oriented right now. My sense of like purpose and mission is incredibly clear and incredibly sharp.
Mm.
My purpose is to experience life and to be present for it from the love in my heart, like to just stay anchored in my heart as much as possible. And my mission is to help others do the same, right? To help others come back to the heart come back to love. Like that's it. Like that's really what I've been waiting for and searching for in my medicine work. And I think so many people come to medicine work wanting clarity around their purpose and their mission because they're like, God, fuck, like this can't be what it's about. Like it can't be this bad. I
Mm-hmm.
can't just go around feeling this shitty. Like I used to feel shitty, like shitty,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
horrible, hated myself, so angry, so judgmental. Oh my gosh. Right. So to come to this place where it's all just so clear and I just have full trust and full faith that it's all happening and falling into place. There's just so much I want to do. I want to do an IFS training really badly and up level my skills there. I want to start shadowing and working with facilitators so that I can start serving medicine in a way that is safe and respectful and informed. I want to continue coaching and, I'm working towards becoming a master coach one day. I think you need like 10,000 hours of coaching. I think I'm at maybe 1,000 now. Yeah, there's so much that I'm excited about, quote unquote, professionally. I'm realizing that my work is spiritual work and that I need to do work that allows me to work with my intuition and my emotions and not so much my logical mind. So, we have these three operating systems. Maybe there's more, but we have our intuition, we have our logic or the mind, and we have our emotions or like our kind of gut. And so I'm learning that for me, I got to work with my intuition and emotions. And that's like really how I'm going to thrive and like really leave this earth a better place
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully contribute to the evolution of humanity in a positive way. And I really do think that our evolutionary work as a human species is to evolve our consciousness. He talks about this in Tryptamine Palace. Have you read that? It's a 5-MeO book. But yeah, he
Oh,
talks about how like our evolutionary work as humans is not to like build shit or make sense of shit. It's to evolve our consciousness. And so I'm fully behind that mission. And I'm really calling in love right now. I've been single for about 5 years. I'm really calling in my dream man, my partner, my steady rock in this crazy life. I'm really ready for that and just having a lot of fun. Yeah, keep dancing, keep singing, keep laughing, and keep spreading, yeah, the good messages. That's what I see for myself. Yeah.
mm. I love that so much. And I love witnessing you stepping into facilitation too, like medicine facilitation. You have such a heart for it. And like your energy, everything just feels so just beautifully open, you know?
Mm.
And there's just, even through this conversation, I'm noticing so many really interesting parallels and synchronicities between our own journeys and just even the rave scene and like the way we
Yes.
want to express love and life. And I find that even post five, coming back into dance for me, like I'm now doing a little bit more ecstatic dance practices that I hadn't really integrated into my life. And every single one, even waking up in the morning and doing an ecstatic dance practice, brings the tears, and it just opens up my
Yeah.
heart so much that not breath work or anything has really been able to
Oh,
really do for me. And so
yeah.
just moving the body and allowing your body to move is like
Yeah.
medicine.
Yeah, music, man. It's
It's
it's a
everything.
special gift. Wow. Yeah.
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 It's such an honor to know you and to
Oh,
witness you and to be walking with you. And I'm just really, really excited to see where this journey of your life takes you. And I'm just grateful to be able to like hopefully collaborate one day and create something together as well. Thank you all so much for being here and receiving this conversation with Lana. She is a life coach and she is the host of Modern Psychedelics. And again, I cannot recommend that podcast enough. It has really opened my eyes to so much around medicine. And she just has incredible guests on this podcast. So check it out if you haven't already. And if you're looking for support, please check her out as a life coach as well. Her information is down in the show notes. There is one more episode left this season. It is with Stella Gold. And I am just really excited to bring this conversation to you as well, because it really helped me to redefine wealth and what my personal wealth legacy is. So please check that out. It's coming out soon. And just thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This is the end of my 3rd season. We're kind of closing out. And I think I'm going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus next spring, just to kind of reformat this podcast a little bit and reflect on how and what kind of stories I want to be bringing out. But I just am so grateful to have you following along and receiving these conversations that truly mean so much to me and have really shaped my perspectives on death and grief, and through that, life. So thank you so much for being here.